Hello and welcome to Algebra 1 Honors. Today we're going to be doing lesson 7-5, which are percentages. And the word percent means hundredths, or we're going to have a number that's divided into 100. And this sign here is the sign we usually use to denote percent. Okay, a little dot like this, okay, a line like this, and another little dot. That means a percent. Okay? Now, let's look at a couple examples. All right, if I have 29%, how can I write that? Okay, how can I write that in a different way? Okay, well, first thing we know that we can always write a percent with our percent sign, right? So 29%, we can write it like this, 29, and we can make our percent sign, and that means 29%. That's pretty easy. And we already know that 29% means that it's going to be 29 over 100. Don't touch, 29 over 100. So we can write it like this, 29 over 100, okay? And the last thing we can always do is write it as a decimal, which is 0.29. Now, as you remember, we can easily change from percentage to a decimal just by moving our decimal point. For example, if we have 29%, okay, and we want to change it into a decimal, we find where the decimal point is going to be. It's going to be right back here and back of the 9, and we always move it 2 places to the left. 1, 2, so 29% is actually going to be the same amount as the decimal 0.29, which 0.29 can be written as 29 over 100. Okay, so knowing all this, we're going to look at a few more, and we're going to see if we can calculate, change the percent into a fraction, and then change it into a decimal. All right, so let's look at the next part. Let's look at one that says 2.6%. Okay, that's a little bigger number. 2.6%. Okay, now if I was going to go ahead and change that into a fraction, what I would do is I would write 26. Okay, I would write 26 over not 100 but 1,000. And that makes sense when we move our decimal place 2 places, 1, 2, okay, to get our decimal, which should be 0.026. And because this is in the thousands place, we call this 26 thousandths. A-N-D, and then the TH comes, okay? Thousandths. Okay? And that's basically how we do it. Now, if you noticed, if we have a percent that says 0.2%, and we're going to change it to the decimal, we still have to move it a couple more places, right? So because there's nothing here, we have to go 1, 2, and we're going to get a 0.0002. That's the decimal form of 0.02%. Okay? Now, let's figure out, there's 2 ways that you can convert a fraction into a percent. Okay, so let's look at these 2 ways. Okay. One way is that we can equate it to 100 because a percent is always out of 100. And the other way is we can convert it into a decimal, and then instead of moving our decimal point 2 places to the left, we do it the opposite way and we get our percent. All right, what are we talking about? Let's look at this one. If we had this 3/5, and we wanted to convert 3/5 into a percent. Well, a percent is always going to be out of 100, so my denominator is always going to be 100. And what I can do is I can just use a simple proportion. Okay? So 5 times x is 5x. Okay, 5x. This times this. This times this will be 3 times 100. Okay, and when I calculate it, I get 5x equals 300 divided by 5. So x will equal 60. So 60 is going to be on top here. And we should know that 60 over 100, because anything over 100, is going to equal 60%. Okay, now that's one way you can do it. Now if we do it the decimal way, it's another way. What we do is we take our fraction, which is 3/5, okay, and we convert it into a decimal. How do we do that? We take the top one, he goes inside the box. The bottom end goes outside. And we put a decimal point. 5 does not go into 3, so we put a 0, and we're allowed to put another 0 here. 5 goes into 36 times. So we end up with the decimal 0.6. Okay? Now, because it's a decimal and it's not a percentage, we move our decimal point this way. Okay? So if I have 0.6 here, and I move my decimal point 1, 2 places, I'm going to end up with 60%. And that's a very easy way to solve these problems. Okay, let's try another one. What if I had 4.7%? Okay, let's look at 4.7%. Okay, 4.7%, we can do it the way we did it before. Say 4.7, okay, equals, it's going to have to equal some number over 100. Okay? Okay, and this is going to be over 1. So we're going to say 1 times x is x equals 4.7 times 100, and my answer is going to be 470. And when I put 470 over 100, I get, my percent is going to be 470%. Okay, now, if we did it the other way, we can do it, we can go ahead and say, well, 4.7 is actually 4 7/7. Okay, 4 7/7. Or if we make it into an improper fraction, it's going to be 47 over 10. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that our denominator here is 100. So we have 10x. We're going to end up with 4,700. Divide both sides by 10. And we get x. Our percent is 470. Okay? So those are the ways that we change percentages into decimals and into fractions. Alrighty? So that concludes lesson 7-5. Okay, Jack, press the button.